Imagine celebrating another year of life and realizing the person who gave you life forgot you even existed. That was my birthday this year. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. I woke up that morning feeling a little excited, expecting at least a simple happy birthday from my mom. But the house was quiet, too quiet. The breakfast table was set as usual, yet there was no card, no smile, nothing. Monica, my mom, walked past me like I wasn't even there, chatting with my dad about some bills. I tried to joke, "So, am I invisible today, or is this your new tradition?" She didn't flinch, just kept pouring coffee. My stomach sank. It wasn't just hurt, it was disbelief. How could she just ignore my birthday after everything? I went outside to clear my head, and there it was, my $95,000 Tesla parked perfectly in the driveway. The car was my pride and joy, something I had worked for myself. I knew it would catch my dad's attention. Sure enough, within the hour, Greg, my dad, came out, squinting at the car, his face unreadable. He called us into the living room, his tone sharp, almost panicked. I didn't know what was coming, but I could feel tension coiling in the room like a spring ready to snap. Monica tried to act casual, but I could see the flicker of something behind her eyes, maybe guilt, maybe fear. As my dad started questioning the sudden appearance of the car and why I was driving around in such a fancy ride, I sat back, keeping my silence. There was something in the air, a storm about to break. And as I looked between my parents, I realized my birthday wasn't the only thing ignored. Betrayal was simmering, and I was right in the middle of it. The living room felt heavier than usual as we all sat down. Greg's jaw was tight, his eyes fixed on Monica. "Why didn't you even acknowledge Ethan today?" he asked, his voice low but sharp. Monica's eyes narrowed, and she folded her arms. "I didn't forget," she snapped, her tone laced with irritation. "It's just, birthdays aren't that important." I stayed quiet, watching them both. I could feel my hands clench in my lap. Every word she said made my chest tighten. She was trying to make this about something else, anything else, to avoid admitting she had ignored me on purpose. Greg's face flushed with frustration. "It's not just a date on a calendar, Monica. It's your son's birthday. You're supposed to." "I don't owe him anything," she interrupted, and then her voice dropped, almost bitter. "He's so independent. Always showing off, thinking he's better than us. Maybe it's time he learned that success doesn't erase the rest of the world." I felt a cold twist in my stomach. That was it. That was the reason. Her resentment, her jealousy, it had been there all along, buried under polite smiles and small talk. My dad's expression changed from anger to disbelief. "Are you serious?" he muttered. I said nothing, just let it all sink in. Every word, every glance, every bite of cold dismissal fueled something inside me. The anger wasn't just hurt anymore, it was plotting, sharp and precise. I could feel the gears turning in my mind, piecing together a plan. I would wait, I would observe, and I would make sure this betrayal didn't go unanswered. For the first time that day, I realized birthdays weren't the real issue. The real problem was Monica herself, and I was going to make sure she understood exactly what that meant. After the tension from the meeting settled, I retreated to the small study at the back of the house. I needed space, needed silence, and maybe, unknowingly, I was searching for answers. That's when I noticed the old filing cabinet in the corner, slightly ajar, almost as if it were inviting me in. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it and started rifling through stacks of letters, envelopes yellowed with age, and stacks of bank statements I had never seen before. At first, I thought it was just old correspondence, but then I noticed patterns in the statements. Withdrawals, transfers, subtle amounts moved from the family estate into accounts I didn't recognize. My fingers trembled as I connected the dots. These weren't mistakes or overlooked bills, they were deliberate. Monica had been taking money, quietly, for years, right under my dad's nose. Greg, always trusting, had never questioned her. I sank into the chair, trying to steady my mind. The anger from my birthday boiled into something sharper, something darker. This wasn't just a moment of neglect, it was a long-term pattern of manipulation and betrayal. The casual way she brushed off my birthday now felt like a signal, a reminder that she didn't value me or my achievements. I couldn't confront her yet, not without proof, and not without a plan. I leaned back and began thinking through every step carefully. Letters, statements, small confessions from the past, I would gather it all, quietly, methodically. When the time came, she wouldn't just be caught ignoring my birthday. She'd be exposed for the bigger deception she had been hiding all along. A plan began to form in my mind, precise and deliberate. Monica had underestimated me, as she always had. But she would not underestimate me again. I started paying closer attention to Monica, watching her every move. It wasn't hard, she seemed careless when she thought no one was noticing. Little lies slipped out, tiny contradictions that didn't make sense unless you looked carefully. One day she told Greg she hadn't touched a certain account, but I had seen the bank statements. Another time, she claimed she hadn't spent anything extra on herself, yet receipts left in drawers told a different story. I decided to test my dad without alarming him. I asked questions casually, like we were just talking about the future. "Dad, do you know how much of the estate is actually available for investments?" I asked one evening. Greg hesitated, frowning. "Well, I thought Monica handled most of it," he said slowly. I kept my tone light, pretending to be curious, but inside I felt a thrill. I could see the gears turning in his head. I asked more subtle questions over the next few days, about old accounts, about funds he thought were untouched. Each time, Greg seemed more confused, more concerned. I didn't push too hard, only nudged gently, letting him piece it together himself. The realization was slow but obvious. He was starting to see the cracks in Monica's story, the betrayals he had ignored for years. Meanwhile, I stayed calm, observing both of them. Monica didn't suspect that I knew, that I was planning, calculating every move. I felt a quiet sense of power. Finally, I was in control, quietly turning the situation to my advantage. I knew when the time came, I could use everything I'd learned to reveal the truth. For now, I stayed patient, letting their own actions confirm what I already knew. Monica couldn't hide forever, and I was ready for the moment she would be caught. That evening, Monica found me in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with a forced smile. "Ethan, I'm sorry about earlier," she said, her voice soft, almost pleading. "I forgot your birthday. Work, the bills, everything. I've just been so stressed. I didn't mean to hurt you." I nodded slowly, letting her words sink in. "It's okay, Mom," I said quietly, forcing calm into my voice. My chest ached with the memory of being ignored, but I kept my expression neutral. I needed her to believe I had forgiven her. She stepped closer, her eyes searching mine for relief, for acceptance. "You know I love you, right? It's just, I feel like you're growing so far away from me, and I'm trying to keep up." Her words dripped with guilt and self-pity. I listened carefully, studying every flicker in her expression, every hesitation in her tone. While she thought she was repairing the rift, I was noting everything. Every word she confessed, every subtle attempt to shift blame, I silently recorded in my mind. I could see the openings, the cracks I could later use. "Thanks, Mom." "I get it," I said, my voice soft but steady. I wanted her to relax, to believe she had me back on her side. All the while, the anger simmered just beneath the surface. Her attempt to manipulate me only confirmed what I already suspected: she didn't respect me or my achievements. As she walked away, I lingered in the kitchen, thinking about how carefully I would use this. She was trying to play on my emotions, but I was the one holding the cards now. Pretending to forgive her wasn't easy, but I knew that patience, observation, and documentation would make my eventual move unstoppable. The tension between what I showed and what I felt made every interaction with her sharper, more focused, and more dangerous. I spent days thinking about the right way to catch her, knowing that subtlety was everything. I couldn't confront her without proof, I needed undeniable evidence. That's when I decided to create a fake investment opportunity, something that looked legitimate, too tempting to resist, but controlled entirely by me. I told Monica about a rare real estate deal, framing it as a chance to double her personal savings quickly. I made sure it sounded exclusive, like very few people knew about it. Mom, it's really something special, I said casually over breakfast. I think it could be perfect for you if you want to invest a bit of cash. Her eyes lit up immediately, a flash of excitement and greed I had seen before. Really? She asked, leaning forward. You're serious? Her voice carried that familiar hunger, the same one I had noticed in old bank statements and secret withdrawals. I nodded, letting her enthusiasm grow. Absolutely. I've done all the research myself. It seems like a solid opportunity. Over the next few days, I watched her quietly, making small notes on her reactions. She started planning how she could move funds, asking questions about transferring money without alerting Dad. Each conversation, each hint of scheming, was exactly what I needed. Monica wasn't just interested, she was scheming, showing her true colors. Finally, I confronted her indirectly, pretending to double-check the paperwork with her. She stumbled, nervous, trying to hide the extra transfers she had already planned. Every lie, every hesitation, confirmed everything I had suspected. Her betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore, it was financial, deliberate, and undeniable. I leaned back, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The trap had worked perfectly. Monica's greed had exposed her, and now I had the evidence I needed. The next step would be showing my dad exactly what had been going on, and this time, there would be no escape. I gathered everything I had, bank statements, receipts, copies of letters, even the notes I'd taken from our conversations, and brought them to the living room where both my parents were. Greg was reading in his chair, still tense from the earlier days of uncertainty. I set the stack of papers on the coffee table and looked at Monica directly. Mom, I said, my voice steady, we need to talk. It's time to be honest. Her eyes narrowed, and she shifted in her seat, trying to appear calm. Ethan, what are you talking about? She asked, her tone tight. I took a deep breath. Everything, I said. The money you've been taking from the estate for years, the lies about investments, even the way you ignored my birthday, everything adds up. I have proof. Her face went pale for a moment, but she tried to cover it. This is ridiculous, she said, waving a hand at the papers. I don't know what you're imagining. I started going through each document, calmly but firmly explaining the withdrawals, the secret transfers, and the patterns I had noticed over the years. Monica interrupted, tried to twist the story, claimed she had reasons, tried to place blame on Dad, but every excuse fell flat against the evidence I had collected. Greg's eyes widened as he looked at the papers, flipping through statements and letters. Monica, is this true? His voice trembled with disbelief. For the first time, he saw the full picture, the years of deception he hadn't suspected. Monica's defenses crumbled. She stammered, flustered, unable to argue anymore. I felt a weight lift, though not satisfaction, it was clarity. Betrayal had been exposed, the family fractured, but I was standing tall, finally unafraid to face the truth and make her see that nothing could hide what had been done. After the confrontation, I moved quickly but carefully. I contacted a lawyer I trusted, explaining everything Monica had done and providing all the evidence I had collected. Together, we drew up legal protections for the family estate, ensuring that Monica could no longer access accounts or make decisions without oversight. I watched as the boundaries were put in place, a firm line that she couldn't cross. Next, I reorganized the finances. Funds that Monica had been siphoning were redirected to secure my future and preserve what was rightfully ours. I didn't take more than what was fair. I wasn't trying to punish through greed, but I made sure she could no longer manipulate money to her advantage. Every transaction, every adjustment, was deliberate, strategic, and calculated to protect what mattered most. Monica tried to argue, to plead, even to guilt me, but her words carried no weight anymore. She had been exposed, and now she faced the consequences of her choices. Her power over the family, the estate, and even the illusion of control she had wielded for years was gone. She sat silently, flustered and powerless, forced to accept that she had lost. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The satisfaction came from seeing the truth settled, the balance restored, and my independence affirmed. Every careful step I had taken in the observation, the trap, the confrontation, culminated in this moment. As I walked away from the final signatures and paperwork, I felt a strange mix of relief and strength. Monica's betrayal had cost her control, and I had turned her schemes against her without stooping to cruelty. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about hurting her, it was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and the future she had tried to steal. The house felt quieter after everything settled, but the silence wasn't empty, it felt like space to breathe. I sat in the living room, looking out the window at the driveway where my Tesla gleamed in the afternoon sun. The weight of what had happened with Mom still lingered, a mix of anger, disappointment, and sadness, but it was tempered by something I hadn't felt in years: clarity. Greg came in and sat beside me, rubbing his tired eyes. "Ethan." "I had no idea," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "I can't believe how much she was hiding, how blind I was." I nodded, feeling the bond between us shift, stronger now for having been tested. "It's not your fault, Dad," I said. "You didn't know, and she's good at hiding things." We talked for hours, not just about the finances or the estate, but about years of little betrayals, the tension in the house, and my childhood memories that had been tainted by her resentment. Greg listened, really listened, and for the first time I felt truly seen, not as the self-made kid who annoyed her, but as her son, someone worthy of respect. As I reflected on everything, I realized I had grown stronger through the process. Mom's betrayal had cut deep, but I had used it as fuel rather than letting it destroy me. I had taken control of my life, my finances, and my self-respect. That sense of independence, that clarity of who I was and what I could protect, gave me closure I didn't think I could have. Sitting there with Dad, I felt liberated. The pain was still there, but it no longer had power over me. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and the future I wanted. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. I slid into the driver's seat of my Tesla, the leather still cool under my hands. The engine purred to life, a reminder of everything I had worked for, everything I had earned on my own. As I drove out of the driveway, past the house where so much had unfolded, a sense of calm washed over me. The chaos, the betrayals, the long nights of planning, they were behind me now. I glanced at the rearview mirror and, for a brief second, thought of Monica. She was a distant figure in my life now, powerless and contained, forced to reckon with the choices she had made. I didn't feel satisfaction in her pain, only in the truth being clear and justice quietly served. Greg called me a few miles down the road, and we talked about small things: life, work, plans for the future. I could sense his relief, his desire to rebuild trust and connection. We both knew the past couldn't be erased, but we were moving forward together, cautiously but with hope. Boundaries were set, respect established, and I felt the solid weight of independence in my hands. The road stretched ahead, sunlight bouncing off the polished car, a symbol not just of success, but of freedom. No longer defined by betrayal, I could finally focus on my own life, my choices, my growth, my peace. I allowed myself a small smile, quiet and steady, knowing that I had turned a painful past into strength. As the city skyline appeared in the distance, I realized something important: I was in control now. Every decision, every step, every boundary was mine. Betrayal would no longer dictate my life, and for the first time in years, I could breathe fully, free and unburdened, driving toward a future I had built with my own hands.